Alright. Hey y'all. How are you today? And who's with me right now? Ba, ba, ba. Cool. Let's see. I'm still trying to go over my notes from what, 2 weeks ago when I last streamed, and trying to remember what I have done. Picking up from where we were last time, that was 2 weeks ago, we took, I'll pretend and say we took Thanksgiving off, when in reality I was once again sick, the life of the chronically ill. But I am doing better now. I'm here. But let's see. I am just eager to get started back on the research once again. So I'm going to quickly go over my notes with you from last go around. Last time let's see, I downloaded a video because you should always download stuff from the internet without thinking about it, like an intelligent person. But I downloaded a video that just won't play on my computer, which may be a good thing. But there was a couple of EVPs, and I listened to them, and I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed. I don't like EVPs when people upload them for the simple reason they usually cut out like a lot of the information leading up to it, who was around. They did specify on like one of them that you could actually hear people in the background, and they mentioned it was other investigators. Well, I'm really not gonna pay that much attention to an EVP when it's known that there's other people around, and they're talking. In this case, it was like you could hear a woman's voice in the background, but then I think it was like they said inhuman, I think. Let me see. Let me look at the screen. Yeah. The possible non-human response is no or go after you hear some of the investigators talking in the distance. And I don't like that because you're saying non-human because you know you're trying to capture something that's not there, you know, by the eye and stuff. But who's to say it's still just not a person? So they were interesting sounding. I have them up on my Twitter, Lilies_lore. But I do have them up on my Twitter, so that way if anybody wants to give them a listen, they can. It's just, there's one that sounded really interesting, and I don't know if I'll get in trouble playing it. That's my biggest fear, is I'm going to get in trouble for playing something that I shouldn't be playing. And I don't even know if you'd be able to hear it. But we're going to try. Let's... Do I need to do a screen share? Let's go ahead and flip over. Alright. Hopefully this comes across on playback without a lot of echo, because it is playing through my computer. So we'll see. I don't actually know how to really do this well for you guys. I have to learn. One of the main things I need to learn.
Can you speak into the little silver box with the red light?
Here, now.
So yeah, you hear her voice. Again, I hope you guys can hear it.
Can you speak into the little silver box with the red light?
Here, now.
And it's a woman's voice saying something about, it sounds like, you know, here or whatever. It's interesting. But I'd like to know with something like that the I almost wish it was paired with a video of some kind. Like, I know they normally run these things separate, but I would be interested in seeing exactly the situation as it was laid out when they caught it. Was the EVP captured on anything else? Were they only running whatever it was that they caught it, whether it was a tape recorder or a cell phone, or what was that the only thing they were recording off of. I need more information for things like this, because I'm so quick to debunk something like this. Like, you're in a wooded area, people can very easily hide. If you don't have a video file with it, I'm sorry, I'm like just squeezing up against my buffet and my table over here, so I have like no room to wiggle around. But I looked at my phone and got distracted. Go figure. But without having a video file so I could see what all is going on at the same time, I'm extra quick to cast aside something. If you catch an EVP, I want to know, was it captured on more than one device? Was it not? And I honestly don't know which one I would believe more. If I had, say, 3 devices running, and I captured something on one of them but not the other 2, is that more a plausible capture than, not, or capturing it on all 3 devices? I don't really know. I don't really know which one I would prefer to have. I like the idea of having multiple sources because it kind of backs up the theory that you caught something. But if these are voices that are of things not of this world, then maybe only having it on one device is good, because it shows that it can't be captured on everything. I don't know. Zombie Road. We are in St. Louis, Missouri. This is a location that, let's see, there was supposedly proof of ghosts shown in the 2007 documentary Children of the Grave. I do need to find that to see if I can give it a watch. There is a photo by Christopher Booth. I think it's part of the documentary. I haven't found it online yet. Showing a shadow nest of children. It's known as one of the most haunted roads in America. It's said to be on top of one of the largest Native American burial grounds in the country, but there's no specific tribe associated with it, and so we all kind of know how that goes with Native American things. You want something to sound spooky in America, you just say that Native Americans had a burial ground there, and all of a sudden it's spooky and everybody believes it. And I swear to God, I am fucking hitting everything on my desk today. I need like an extra inch all around me so that way I don't whack things, and even then I feel like I would just fill up the space too much. I'm a very spatial person. But alright, so we don't know what tribe is actually associated with these burial grounds, or if they're even legit. It has been called Zombie Road since the 1950s, because at that point in time we had an escaped mental patient who killed teens and died and continued to kill after death. So he was a zombie in that instance. But don't know how true that is. It just sounds like a lot of the urban legends that we have floating around. It's, I think, technically in Wildwood, not necessarily St. Louis. There's a mysterious woman who yells at people but then vanishes when they go to investigate the sound. That's the afterlife I want. I want to yell and scream at people that then when they come to find me, I just poof, disappear. Just get all the frustrations out by yelling and screaming at people. It's also known as Lawyer Ford Road. And there was a train accident victim who died in 1876. And their remains were so grotesque that it was like a zombie. So that's one theory on how it got its name. But again, it wasn't called Zombie Road until the 1950s. It is currently known as Rock Hollow Trail. People can bike it, walk it, but after dark, you get tickets by the cops because you're not allowed to be there. And here's another thing about that. All right, so I am at a place that if I stay overnight or even go at night, I'm going to end up, little tiny lily pieces all over the place. But cops can freely come and go and give people tickets. Like, do they just wait outside of the area to ticket people as they come through, or are they, walking through it if there's ghosts? Are they just not touching them? Are the police safe? But also, too, we always have the investigators who go out to these places that supposedly stay overnight, and they come out alive. So it throws off the lore whenever we have stories that are the sorry, Bazoo's being cute. It always throws off the lore whenever we have the if you stay here overnight you die, and then we have a bunch of people who stay overnight and they don't die. Again, one of my problems with the Devil's Tramping Ground that I will never stop harping on. It's not a real legit haunted place. But let's actually see what we can find. We did a lot of the spooky stuff last week, or 2 weeks ago. Let's go back here and what do I want to look for? Let's say Zombie Road history. I cannot type. Huh. That's interesting. That I don't know if you guys can see this or not because I got my screen pulled up now, but there's guest locations in Fortnite Fort. I don't play Fortnite, but just interesting in general. Actually, ooh, wait. Let's look at the map. And my computer is running very loudly right now. Again, what else is new? It would not be a Lily stream if we did not have animals distracting me, everything distracting me losing my mind like 20 times a day, and my computer being very loud. But alright, I'm not distracted. I am not distracted. We are going to look up the map. Oh, I'm forever distracted. And see here it says that it's Wildwood. The legendary Zombie Road. Computer's being loud and slow. And this is just a random thing, but I stream using like their desktop software. I wonder if it would be better if I ended up doing it just out of the web browser, but I don't know. My computer's really not that old. I don't know why it's acting like it's ancient. This is really right or not, because I don't think, okay, just fucking zoomed into Missouri in general, so that's not helpful. Look at these. Sorry, I'm moving my screen all around so that way it's a little bit better suited for my needs right now. I know it's not the Michael Jordan, but very interesting that this is written by Michael Jordan. Sorry, I'm just watching the top thing spin, so I'm assuming my stuff isn't pulled up, and I can scroll down. All right. $10-mile day hike. I appreciate the humor that Michael has added to this. Hiccup says hello. See, here it's marked as Bluff View Trail. How many names does this have? I think it's interesting how there's a couple of stories that are linked to an insane asylum, because much like the Indian burial ground or Native American burial ground, and even with the railroad accidents, it's almost like horror movie tropes, except for we're not in a movie, I don't think. And it's just kind of like, oh, if I need a spooky backstory for something, we're going to go Native American burial ground, insane asylum, or, you know, train accident that really can't be verified. The Mako Station light just outside of Wilmington here, we had, supposedly a guy who was in a train accident and his head lopped off, and he had the whole swinging lantern and the light from that up until more people moved in and construction happened. But there was no report of this particular person having been in a train accident in the area or dying or anything like that. So train accidents are always just an interesting thing for me, as far, or not just train accidents, but insane asylums and everything. They're just interesting for me for this kind of thing, because it just ends up being almost, again, like a trope. I need a spooky background story, so let me dig through my little Rolodex. What haven't I used today? Okay, well, this is the one I'm going to go with to make something sound scarier than what it is. All right. But legends of the haunted gravel road that is now Rock Hollow Greenway stretch back to its construction in the 1860s as an access road to the Merrimack River and the railroad track that runs along its bank. Ghosts of the settlers struck by trains roaming the thickly wooded ridges, and even a hidden cemetery for murdered children from an insane asylum run by sadists pepper local lore about this old road. These days, though, the trail and park is well maintained and full of hikers, mountain bikers, and nature lovers enjoying the beautiful Missouri outdoors. It is really pretty. Actually, I almost prefer to look at pictures like this. It gives you a little bit of a lay of the land, but also too, I like it when you have somebody who is not a ghost hunter who maybe captures something that's a little bit spooky or unexplained. But those were just pictures of someone having fun. Alright. He just did a quick little doodad. Oh, okay, so that's what wasn't loading early. He's got an actual YouTube video. Let me watch that. We looked at Hernandez's site before. Looked at dangerous roads before. I don't think we went to only in your state. Sorry, I'm just doing a little look over this image. Let's see. What is a local hangout for area teenagers for parties, drinking, and making out? Let's go, says the woman who was almost 40. So was it in the 50s that they went? Yeah, okay. So before everybody started dying here, it's when all the teens would go hang out. Oh, I like that. Supernatural curiosities. That's what I should say I have, is a supernatural curiosity. What am I looking at in this picture? Other than like a bunch of nothing. Well, not nothing, but trees. One popular story, and the reason for his name, is that of the zombie killer, a creepy guy who lived in a shack in the woods and would attack young lovers looking for a place to be alone. As the years passed, the chilling stories continued, including ghosts vanishing and strange noises. Oh, we have a real story here. Let's see. It says, one of the most spine-tingling may be the frequently retold story about the ghost of a person who was hit by a train and now haunts the area. This legend becomes more chilling with the real story of Delta Hamilton. Oh God, I can't pronounce names. We all know this. McCullough? I don't know. She was the wife of a local judge who was hit by a train and died in 1876. Since there are no other records of anyone being killed by a train in this area at this time, it is widely believed that she may be the actual famed ghost from the legend. Oh, that is awesome. I'm going to have to look more into that. Alright. I love having a name because it does give... Like last time, we didn't really have a name for anybody, so it was harder to say this actually happened. I think it's McCullough. I don't know. Hey, Chris. Alright, let's see. Mark on here that she is the only recorded death associated with, if I don't take notes as I go, I am just screwed all the hell later on. Only recorded death associated with a train accident. In the area. So funny, my notes like are half legible and then half just completely not. And again, this is the first time I'm seeing this too. The area around Glencoe once served as a resort community until the mid-1940s. A lot of the houses were converted for year-round residents, but some were left abandoned and decaying. These ruins contribute to the creepiness of the road and may be the former homes of the apparitions that visitors encounter. So again, last time we didn't get any information about there being a resort community in the area, that even if there, wasn't like a ghost associated with an area, but say an actual killer in the area who lived in old abandoned buildings, well, now we know where the old abandoned buildings were from. So And I know I haven't put out like the last stream yet on YouTube. It's gonna come next week. But again, Drew, if you're watching this from the future, if you find your video, I would love to see it for the area. All right, resort community until mid 1940s. And several homes were left abandoned. All right. All right, here's so the old lady who yells at people. The mysterious old woman who yells at people but vanishes when they investigate the sounds does so from one of the houses. And again, she's never there when people go to look. There's supposedly a ghost of a boy who fell from the bluffs along the river and died, and his body was never found. But it doesn't really give any more information than that. But we're gonna mark it anyways. Let's see. Ghost boy who fell from the bluffs along the river, died, and his body was never found. Now it talks about the Native Americans. Oh, I guess these are some of the houses. Oh, they're pretty. Well, I say pretty. I like stonework. I'm in real estate. I like architecture, stonework, all that kind of stuff. I'm scrolling kind of quick. I'm going to go back up. I just wanted to quickly look and see. This is actually a really long post. I'm happy about that. Alright. It doesn't really say anything about Native American. It just says sightings of Native American ghosts have been reported. How do you know that is necessarily a Native American ghost? Like, in the instance of the mysterious woman, well, she's yelling at people, so perhaps even though she vanishes when people go to look for her, you know, they can tell that it's an old woman's voice, maybe. And how do we know that it's also not... I'm going to have, again, 1,000 times hard. McCullough? I can't talk. Mick names are hard. They're not all hard. I take that back. But a lot of words are hard for me. I can't pronounce names. Again, I would have been a terrible teacher because I would never have gotten my students' names right, ever. But how do we know since, let's see, because I did scroll down, you still have the train tracks. And they pass through what would later be Glencoe. So how do we know that her ghost isn't the old lady ghost and she just, you know, moved into an old house? I would. Ooh, there's a little dot on this. Again, we know I don't deal with... I'm sorry, I am scatterbrained and distracted. But we know I don't really like orbs or anything like that. But I do find it interesting that there's just a little solo dot in the middle of this picture. I hope you guys can see where my mouse is. But that's interesting. Old lands can still be seen. Huh. And it's funny that it says that here lies the setting of the stories of the railroad ghost. I'm guessing just because it's the train tracks and not necessarily the actual location of where all of the stories come from. I might be wrong. But let's see. Several accounts of a translucent figure in white have been reported. The figure walks up the abandoned line and then disappears or glows with a bluish white light and disappears upon approach. Could this be Della? We're just going to call her Della because I can pronounce that. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you have a translucent figure in white and you think it might be her, how many of the stories could be associated with her? I don't have enough information yet. My brain's just doing its own little thing and walking through all of its thoughts all at one time. My brain is like a derailed train. It's just trying to get back on the rail by itself. I like how all these photos, none of them have any kind of captioning or anything like that, so we're just kind of having to look at this as is. Alright, over the years, the sharp bends in the tracks at Glencoe were the site of frequent derailments to the point that part of the service being discontinued. And so it's thought that there's other restless ghosts who may have been accident victims, but she was the only known death. So these are always one of the things that kind of bother me, like, if we only have one known death, even if there were other accidents, I mean, do you come back from the dead if you fucking die at, 80 years old at home, happy? Do you go back to where a train that was derailed, say when you turned 30, and there was an accident there, do you go back there after you died? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, she was the only known death, but... Alright, let's see. I am going to make note of the sharp bends in the track being the site of derailments. I will make a note, though, that it is possible source of other ghosts, even though she was the only recorded death. With unsettling feelings and the sensation of being watched that many report could be explained away by spooky surroundings alone, the eerie sounds, inexplicable noises, and disembodied footsteps cannot be completely ignored. You're in the woods, though. Like, again, cops patrol the area nightly to, to get anybody who's there that shouldn't be there. Even in wooded areas, sound travels. And so you can hear things that maybe sound closer than what they are. And also, too, if everybody is there after dark when they're not supposed to be, well, they're not going to yell out hey, here I am. If somebody says, is there anybody around trying to capture something spooky? So. Definitely don't go in. I am such a let's nope the fuck out of this situation. Like you have a house that's like dilapidated and you see a face in the window. I'm not going in there to investigate to find out who the fuck's staring at me. There's just a face in the window and I'm done. I'm out. I don't care. I'm not gonna go do that. No. I God, so many people who do like the horror situation of going into places that they shouldn't. No, not me. Not once, not ever. No, especially not alone. You have a buddy and you're like Butters and Cartman when they were at the little western place. You hold hands and you don't let go of your buddy. I am Butters in the entire situation. I don't care what happens, I am not letting go. And that would be me here. Like, I'm not dropping your hand. We are holding hands the whole time. And yeah, we're probably going to have like a chain of people. And we're all going to be holding hands because that's just how I roll. uh, it's just about how you find it. It was also known, let's see, other known as. I have a critter making noise somewhere. Cats. Alright. Formerly Ellisville, as well as. Alright. I do want to watch this video, but I don't know if it's one that I have saved from before. I don't think it is. I also don't know if I'm going to get in trouble if I play that. But we're going to try. Let's see. I want to believe photos like that, but it's just so hard for me to, you know, look at that and actually get, sorry, I got distracted. Oh, these are other haunted words. Okay. I saw Mad Lucy and I was like, is that one of the ghosts? But no. That's a completely different location. So we got some good information off of this. And like I said, I really do like the photos that, you know, he has. I think they're interesting. But I don't necessarily think he captured anything that can't just easily be explained with either setting shit up or being in the woods at night, you know. And I apologize too if you guys can hear my computer. My computer likes to run very loudly. Even when I'm not streaming, it just likes to run loudly. So. But let's see. That's actually... Hi, Miro. How are you today? And thank you for following. Let's see. No, I spelled it right the first time. Della. I'm good. Thank you for asking. And I'm glad you're good too. Alright. Let's see. I love the Wayback Machine. It tells me all the things that I need to know. Oh, God damn it. Or it doesn't tell me all the things I need to know. Well, shit. That was unhelpful. Let's see. I know this says Fiction Friday, but since it's based off a real person, she might have. Oh. That was unhelpful. Let's see. And my computer comes to a crawl. Huh, okay. So we actually do have now some information possibly regarding Native Americans in the area. It says, oh God, I gotta zoom in. I'm sorry, I'm blind as a bat, and again, I apologize to you guys for having to watch me like lean really forward with my camera right here so I can read stuff. The Jules family were Native Americans who migrated to the Melrose area of Wildwood every fall in search of herbs for medicinal purposes and roots, bark, and berries for cooking. These Indians came from Wisconsin to gather the items they couldn't get at home in the 1920s. Info from One Room Schoolhouses by Karen Fox. But it doesn't say. I would like to know what tribe they were. Mostly just to help kind of relate things. Old cabins. Schools. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how far away any of these places were from Zombie Road. It is a cool little history piece. So I am looking up right now Zombie Road in Missouri near St. Louis. It is known as one of the most haunted roads in America. Supposedly there are shadow people, sounds, EVPs, ghosts, all kinds of things. And what I always feel like I sound so weird when I say this. I'm not like a ghost hunter or anything like that. What I do is I research these areas. I try to find the fact and the lore and see where they kind of meet on things. And I'm hoping to essentially prove definitively one way or the other one day whether or not ghosts exist. Um, and not just ghosts. I mean cryptids and all kinds of things. I've looked into, a lake monster in North Carolina, um, uh, ghost, just basically everywhere. I was at fucking Bachelor's Grove Cemetery for a couple of months, not actually physically there, just researching and trying to find some kind of evidence that's been collected that I can believe without a shadow of a doubt that is real, or stories or things like that. I have some theories on some things. Sorry, my kitchen table just shook really oddly for... Oh, it's windy outside, so my whole apartment's shaking. I live in basically a treehouse. But I'm just basically trying to prove if ghosts are real or not, in a way that I feel to me is satisfactory. I am, like I said, a third generation photographer, so I tend to have a lot of thoughts on photos that are captured and things like that. I don't talk about this much, but I am very sensitive to EMF. So, yeah, I try to look beyond simple things of people being like, oh, I have like a spooky feeling about this, because just being a person who lives with that anyways, I kind of know the symptoms and what it feels like to feel like you're being watched and actually you're just around some piss poor wiring or something. So I want to find like the science behind everything, the truth, the science, in a way that then we can just say, no, this is real. So I've done quite a few different places. I am more likely to dismiss things that I don't have the person that I can actually say, explain to me how you did this. One of my buddies actually has been to Zombie Road, and he does have some footage he's going to try and find for me, that I'm going to be a lot more open to trusting, because I know the person who took it, who's providing it to me. I can ask questions. I can get their story firsthand. Versus if I see something online, 2 weeks ago, because we took last week off, I was looking at photos and there were supposedly shadow people that were in these photos. But when you looked at them, you had to lighten the photo so much, and they were so small in there that the average person just looking at the photo would not see anything. Like, I even took my screen and brightened it up completely, like to 100%, to try and see the unedited photos to see what you could see, and you couldn't even really tell there was anything there. So it's like, well, what kind of darkroom manipulation are you doing there to make it look like there's a shadow figure? So, I always say that probably the only piece of evidence I'm ever going to fully believe is something I capture myself. But that's just the way it is. And I am fidgety as fuck. Sorry, I have a desk full of little things to keep my hands occupied. And so I am currently just playing with my little ocelot. But let's see. I think these are mostly just cool little information pieces, but I don't think they're actually about Zombie Road. Oh, so we do have a what reservation? I was reading this as a reservation, as like a Native American reservation, but I think it's just more like a reserve based off the way that sounded. Alright, the historic community of Glencone and Wildwood, since that is where we're at. I'm just skimming this right fast to see. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. All right. So we have Henry, which may be Della's husband. Let's see. Skimming. Honestly, the picture from the YouTube video that showed the shadow people would be, to me, a lot more believable if it looked more like something like this. Like with the figures and stuff. Not necessarily with the horses and things like that, but because we don't actually, as of yet, I haven't seen anything that shows that kids were buried anywhere in the area. But I can imagine, even if they were unrecorded, that there were some deaths with building the railroad and the things in the area. Alright, Zombie Road. Haha. Alright. It's constructed in the late 1860s, which we know. Referred to Zombie Road as early as the 1950s, which we know. This is literally either pulled from, well, I guess the Only in Your State may have pulled from this because, yeah, we have already read this exact wording on another site. Cute little town, judging, from what I can see here. Let's see. Okay, so you have St. Louis City, but then you have Wildwood over here. And it's in St. Louis County. Alright, that's less confusing now. So, schools. So I think that little snippet was probably the only thing that they had. can hear my neighbors microwaving something. I have the thinnest walls. I would like more information on Della's death. Seeing as how it's the only recorded death associated by train, you think... But yeah. Everybody uses this photo. And again, I feel like it's just an easy one to fake. Mostly because you could just get a handful of people and say, hey, meet me at this place. Once again, it's information that I have already read exactly as is on other sites. It always makes me wonder who originally wrote this. Oh, thank you, Mira. I hope you have a good afternoon or night wherever you are, and thank you for coming and thank you for following. I do this every Tuesday from 4 to 6 New York time, so I'll see you later. But let's see. I always want to know who writes things originally to where they get, like, streamed across the internet. Can I just laugh at the name? Because I am 13, they are the Lady Dicks, and they have the Dick Squad. I am 13. I don't care. I'm gonna laugh at it. Actually, probably should have signed up for their email newsletter. I'll do that later. Alright. You just gotta love the name, right? Let's see. I like this too. The trail winds through beautiful woods, ending abruptly at what used to be a rock quarry that was closed and abandoned in the 1970s. So again, why was that considered, that piece of rock before considered a tombstone? There's so many other things that it could have been than a tombstone when there's, like, no marked graves around. Like, that just... It makes me laugh. Let's see. Having served as the main access point to the rock quarry, the road is technically paved, however, it has fallen into disrepair over the years and is impassable via car. Its official road status was most likely prompted by its heavy use by Civil War soldiers headed west. More about the houses being around. More about the ghost boy and yelling old woman. Indigenous travelers, Confederate soldiers, school children, and quarry workers maimed by machines on the job are all said to still be lurking in the area. I wonder what kind of rocks were actually mined in the area. Or quarried. Just mostly because I wonder if they would help give off any weird readings with things. One of the things that I found out while looking into Devil's Tramping Ground again. I still need to write that piece and post the research, but I'm never going to not be angry at how quickly I figured that one out. But even with that, they're not so much with EMF, but in that case, it was compasses being messed up, and things not growing in an area. And we had a natural salt lick and a lot of copper in the area, which copper can affect compasses. Thank you, Popular Science, for putting out a video on that one for me. But let's see. I moved around. I want to make sure I didn't bucket everything up. But we have very legitimate reasons why, even just minerals from the ground can give off weird little readings. And I know people would be like, oh, but, it's not electric, which, electromagnetic fields. But there's so many things that mess with so many things that we can't just turn a blind eye to actual reality and science of things. So I'm curious to see what the rock quarry was. Make sure you make a note of that. I got about, just so about a half hour before I have to hop off and do fun things like dishes and cleaning. Let's see. 1950s, Lawyer Ford Road was the local hotspot for teens, which we already know. Glencoe was over a decade closed and the road was already falling into disrepair. It was a recipe for automobile accidents. The legend of the zombie serial killer was rumored to live in one of the worn-down shacks long neglected on the gravel road. I'm adding words into this while I'm trying to read because I can't do things right. As the legend goes, Zombie, aka the zombie killer, escaped from a nearby hospital and disappeared somewhere along Lawyer Ford Road. Why am I having such a hard time just saying basic words? But it is funny. I said this last time, and I'm going to say it again because I don't think you were here, and it was just funny. The way you would say this word, and Chris, I'm sure you understand this being from the same state as me, or being in the same state. I say the synonym for attorney the same exact way. I'm going to say this even though they are spelled different and there's an extra L in this one. Lawyer. Me and my inability to talk. Right? If you think too hard on certain words, then you just kind of stumble over them even more. So it's just easier to let them fall out however they fall out. Oh, and this made me laugh last go around. Where he left his blood-soaked clothing on the side of the road and lived out his days in one of the houses. So was he naked the whole time? Did he spend like the rest of his time just being butt-ass naked killing kids? Like, oh, and then it's all debunked. Unfortunately for you murder buffs, unfortunately for the necking teenagers, this story isn't true. There is no hospital in the area, nor did any that sat slightly out of the area report losing such a patient. Not to mention, there is no past serial killings reported in the area. Aw, sad face. But also, too, Lady Dix, I like you even more. An alternative tale says that instead of escaping a hospital, Zombie worked at an orphanage run by sadists. Supposedly, the area surrounding Zombie Trail contains a cemetery of murdered children, but again, there is no record of an orphanage in the area and no evidence to back up orphan grave sites. Yeah. And if we really thought that there were bodies buried in an area with unmarked graves, we have the technology to scan the ground. Like, even if you just have to spot check it. And you can't tell me we didn't have this technology for a very long time, because they used it in fucking Jurassic Park at the very beginning of the dig site. So, you know, if they could use it back then to discover dinosaurs, I'm pretty certain you could have a much more upgraded version now. And I know they do, because I also remember watching something on Forensic Files where they scanned somebody's basement, like with one of those little devices, and found the remains of someone's spouse that they had killed. So we could scan. It would take a long time, but you could spot scan at the very least areas around to try and find mass unmarked graves. Okay, so we have limestone in the area. All right. In 1868, the Glencoe Marble Company opened. They mined limestone deposits in the area and set up the small railroad using trucks to haul stone gravel. That is until the quarry at the end of the road eventually shut down in the 1970s. So we have limestone, and the company was Glencoe Marble. Remnants of the abandoned railroad built by Glencoe Marble Company extend along the river, pass through what would later become Glencoe, though only a few remnants of the railroad lines can be seen near the dead end of Zombie Road. And so, I think that the year's on here. But just a hint of the railroad is all you need to stir up ghost stories. Visitors report seeing a translucent figure in white walking along the abandoned line that simply vanishes, leaving a bluish white light behind, but when they go to investigate, it disappears. Alright. And now we get on to Della Hamilton McCullough. McCullough? I'm gonna have to look that one up before I do my wrap up so I say it right on the official video. Sometime in 1876, she was hit by an oncoming train. We have no details and no records, but local legend says it happened. So even though this is the only reported death, there's actually no records. So I'll say no known records for now. I do know in some cases we have hey Tara, welcome. I know in some instances we have had situations of bodies being uncovered in places that, or deaths happening that don't necessarily have recorded sources, but local historians know them better. So I wonder, this says local legend says it happened, but I'm curious to know if it was actually, like, if a historian would have more information. So I might need to reach out and see if I can find one. Others think these ghostly sightings are actually other restless spirits of railroad accident victims, like the supposed death of a man hit by an oncoming train in the 1970s that can't be substantiated by records. I hate things that, like, I know that in some cases there's been, cover-up situations and things like that because they don't want to have all the known deaths and stuff. But it also feels like in the 70s, like if that happened, it wouldn't be quite so easy to cover up. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's actually extremely easy to cover stuff up. Or not even necessarily cover it up, just do away with records. It was repaid in 2010 and renamed Rock Hollow Trail. Though he described the area as unsettling, he was unable to confirm the activity, and that is Troy Taylor. And let's see what book this is. Weird Highway, Missouri. I understand. Even if you can't hear. I appreciate you still chatting and stopping by. A separate paranormal group did report investigating. As a result, they allegedly took a photo of shadow people lying in trees near the road. Is this a different photo? Okay, I think this is a different one from the one we were looking at. I mean, I know it's a different one than the one we were looking at earlier, but I don't think this is the one that they're referring to with the shadow people, because if that's the case, I don't see any shadow people. But I do find it interesting. So, like, this is just the way my mind works while looking at photos like this. Like, if I was the person to believe everything at spooky face value, I could say that this right here was the shadow of a skirt, and this is a lady's hair sticking out, and she is clearly peeking out from around this tree, even though it's just a tree and it's moss, and you can clearly tell it's just trees and moss. But again, I think the photo that they're referring to is the one that we looked at earlier. That, again, I like the fact they say allegedly took a photo, because I don't really believe that, yeah, that photo was legit. But hey, we can pretend that we see a little spooky lady right here. And again, police saying to stay out. Before I bounce off of this. No, I want to sign up. I love how they didn't update their stuff. I want to sign up for their newsletter so I can get notified of their things. Is this how? Ah! Oh. I can't just... No, I don't want that. I thought I could get like an email sign up. Boo. Lame. Ooh, haha. Sweet. Alright. Before I get distracted by the Lady Dicks. I will never not love that name. Alright, we already looked at this one. Find a grave. Nice. So we some source material here. Yesterday morning, she met with tragic death at Glencoe. She was 75 years old, damn. Had been gathering beans in her garden, crossing the track of the Quarry branch of the Pacific Railroad, which runs from the depot to the marble beds some 2 miles north, was run over by the cars and instantly killed. The family is well known throughout the county, and the most intense feeling of sorrow was exhibited in the neighborhood of the unfortunate event. An inquest and verdict return in accordance with the facts was held in. Huh. So we do have this. I need to make it up. So this was the St. Louis Globe Democrat. Article from August 24th, 1876. And it talks about Della's death, which I wrote as Death Della because my dyslexia just is fun. Let's see if we can be original on this. Oh, well, I didn't really do much of anything. I'm gonna save this. Boy, am I glad that that didn't pull up like to a screen that you guys might have been able to see of me trying to save things and it be very embarrassing, because that would just be my luck. So let's see. 1801 to 1876. That was August 23rd. Not that any of this other stuff really matters, I just find it interesting. But that is cool that, if nothing else, we did find an image of an article that ran in the local newspaper. I know when I was doing the post for Halloween on Pluckley, it took a little bit of work, but I did find the news articles associated with the disappearances and deaths for their Screaming Woods. And it's always nice to be able to, if nothing else, link to a news article that was printed. I'm not saying that the news always gets it right, even back then, but at least in instances like this, we have information to go off of. We know that people actually existed and that things happened. And let's see. So findagrave.com. That is one I'm probably going to actually want to save for another day. Findagrave.com. Alright. I like this. St. Louis is considered to be one of the most haunted in the United States. Most haunted what? Seriously, they're a county and a city. And Basil is floating around here, meowing and saying hello to everybody. Let's see. This is just more brushing the surface of things. Excuse me. Alright, Zombie Road. Again, why don't we have actual tribes associated with the Native Americans who use the area? Even the photo that I saw before in the PDF, where it clearly showed Native Americans with people, it could have been from anywhere, so it would be nice if we had tribes associated with, or even, the full nations associated with an area like this, so we would kind of know. But if they were just traveling back and forth, why would there be a mass burial site? It just seems weird if you were traveling to wait till you reached a certain area without going all the way to the end of the line. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But nothing new there. Oh, Tumblr, don't let me down. And here's the photo again. And so here we have, these are believed to be the souls of Native American orphans who were tortured while at a nearby orphanage in 1913. There's no notes associated with that. It's cool, but we'll just write down the date. So we have it. Maybe we can find an orphanage. Because before it was kids tortured by an insane asylum, or in an insane asylum. Now it's Native American orphans tortured by a nearby orphanage in 1913. If I can quickly write my notes in a way that will be legible at 3 a.m. when I'm inevitably reading over all of this again and thinking. Did I do this one before? Gosh, I'm getting all the yawns in. I think I did do this on the last stream. I think it's been 2 weeks now. My brain is just like, have I seen this before? Alright, this is completely off topic, but my browser is open just enough just to see these faces of all the contributors staring at me like, hey, you reading this? What do you think? And it's a little bit off-putting. I'm sorry. I am sure all these people are very nice people. It's just, you guys know how my brain works. It doesn't. It gets distracted easily. And now I just see these faces of these people staring at me while I'm trying to read this. But alright. We're going to read over this right fast because it's a little bit longer. And then Probably wrap up for the day, but let's see what notes we can get out of this. Hi, Basil. Come here. Do you want to read with us? Come here. Oh my god, you're getting so fat and heavy. Alright. Let's read. It's about 2 miles long, which we knew. The history of this area goes back to ancient Native American times when this was one of the few pathways cut by nature over the centuries through the bluffs to the Merrimack River area just beyond them. It is believed that traveling Native Americans used this pathway for foot travel and also quarried flint here for making various tools and weapons. In the early 1880s, a ferry boat was operated at the bottom of this area of this passage at times where the ford was located at the river for settlers and travelers to cross to the other side, where the Lewis family owned much of the land. The origin of the road name is unknown to historians even today. Let's see. I know. You're so cute. Just talking about more of the people who own the land. Please don't use your means to reach out to me. Use your beans. Gravel was taken and moved out along road cars to... Alright. That's just a history about the gravel and the quarry. Alright, it's from about 1900 until 1945. Glencoe in this area was one of the resort communities, which we already knew. I didn't know this, but the houses that were converted were lost to the great local floods of the 1990s. Interesting. Some insist that they have heard old-time music, moving lights, ghostly sightings. More about the escaped mental patient. Other tales include one of an original settler who met their demise on the railroad tracks, pioneer who lost his wife in a poker game and then went back to his homestead and took his own life. I remember reading that last time. Who puts their wife in the poker pot, you know? Alright, you're getting twitchy. Go play. Alright. During the age of Prohibition, nearby town housed speakeasies and summer homes of well-known gangsters. Tales tell of individuals who were dealt bad hands by such public enemies, resulting in their permanent placement within the ground or bordering river to never be seen again. See, I'm more likely to believe gangsters in an area having a bunch of bodies that we can't find than necessarily an orphanage or an insane asylum that don't actually exist having mass unmarked graves. The bordering river has tragically delivered many to the other side through the years. Gosh, this is written like I wrote it. Tongue tanglers. Children and adults alike have taken their last living breath within its dangerous waters before being found washed up on its shores. Even during the new millennium, several children have met the demise one day within its banks. Local lifelong residents can still remember multitudes of tragic occurrences dating back to the 1950s. One of these occurred in the 1970s when 2 teens were struck by an oncoming train. Some of the local residents were used in search parties to find body parts scattered about the area. So, There was, I now have basil hair all over that stuff from rubbing him. 1970s train accident involving 2 teens, right? Yeah. And residents searched for the body parts. Gross. During the 1990s, a mother and her 5-year-old child crossing the bridge when an oncoming train met them. I thought the train had already... Oh wait, no, I remember seeing this too. My brain is going 1,000 miles a minute, but I remember reading this last time. More occult rituals. During the 1960s, a couple in their late teens were on top of the bluffs overlooking the road below. I feel like I've been on this page before now that I'm reading all of this again. The male somehow lost his footing and during the fall caught his face in a fork of small tree growing out the side of the bluff. His face and scalp remained while the rest of him fell to his death to the road below. Ew. See, that's the cause right there for a reason to have it called Zombie Road if you have a ghost. Like a faceless ghost. That's just ew. In the 1970s, a hunter stumbled across a car still running at the end of the road. Closer inspection revealed, oh yeah, I do remember reading this because I wondered, in this one, a hunter stumbled across a car still running and there was a hose from the exhaust pipe to the inside of the car. Did the driver actually die or, was he, my brain, was he alive? Because yeah, that's when I ended up seeing this. So this is the photo that we looked at last go around, or one of the photos. This is extremely enhanced and brightened. This is the same photo. And the shadow figure is right here. And I only know from just the fucking amount of times that I looked at it because I also had to giggle over the fact that you have 1, 2, I think there was actually a few more orbs, yeah, like 3. I think I counted like 4 or 5 last go around. But if you look at this photo, like at the full size and at its unedited state, I know where to look because I've looked at this photo, but somebody else who doesn't know where to look isn't going to just see a shadow figure, because there's also other things that could almost be considered that until you manipulate the image in some way. So we do have a lot of interesting things in this area, but I think it's a little after 6 right now. I feel like the Viking's gonna be coming home soon. I know he is. So we are gonna wrap up. My brain is fried. 2 hours of research will do that. I also want to look into some things just a little bit more in depth. See if I can try and find some names associated with some of these accidents. Because honestly, I feel like in some cases they would lead to more ghosts than not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like instead of associating the translucent figure on the railroad tracks with Della, maybe you could associate it with this mother who pushed her kid out of the way. Because to me that makes sense as well. Or even the 1970s train accident. But I want to see if I can try and find... My dog just woke up and is going crazy. I want to see if I can try and find more information on these. So, but I'm going to wrap up and hop off. And you know me, I'm going to be back online in like 2 seconds. Not on Twitch, but on my phone. To run my mouth. So I will just see y'all there. And we'll talk soon.